I went back to Rolling the Robsons. I thought today we'd have a bit of a chat about what the next steps are for Rolling the Robsons and where things are going at the moment. This is very raw and very unedited, so you'll have to just bear with. So we sold the caravan and we've now got no debt. So we paid off all of the car debt, all of the rest of the caravan debt, and it's all completely gone. So we now have no extra outgoings apart from the mortgage. That's all we've got going. I'll even tell you what the mortgage is. I mean, the mortgage is 930 quid a month. Big 4/5 bedroom house, so that's absolutely fine. So the next steps are, I'll give you a few different choices. One, we could keep the car and do nothing else. Don't get a camper van, don't get a motorhome, nothing. And we could use that to go to France this year. We've looked at some statics, which are quite expensive, but bearing in mind that you're saving the price of the ferry, tunnel, and the petrol, it's probably still slightly more expensive to do it that way, but in some respects better, maybe, because you get your own shower and things like that. But they're a bit less versatile. So a lot of places we're looking for France so far, they're kind of they want you to book like 7 nights on them, or a lot of them start on Saturdays, which isn't ideal. But I suppose that just is what it is. What can you do about it? So that's option number one, that we just keep the car. It's actually had a fortune. It's had about £1,000 spent this year. It's had a new battery, new front brakes and discs. It's then had a new radiator put in yesterday, and that seems to be going well. Big thanks to Kev for that. And that's option number one. But it does kind of limit us in terms of going away. I mean, it's all right, but it's not great. We could still put like places, but problem in the UK is getting the thing for 5 is not easy. 4, yes, unless you're going to pay for 2 hotel rooms, 5 is a bit harder. So we're just kind of playing it by ear, I suppose. That's option one. Option two, if we go and buy a VW Transporter or a Mercedes Vito, long wheelbase, preferably one, or even a Ford thing anyway. But we need one that's big. We can't have the smaller version, so we'd probably need one that was 5 meters plus. And what we do is we'd partly convert it. We wouldn't do a full conversion. We do it so that you'd have a bed at the back behind the seats. We wouldn't actually get rid of the seats and put a rock and roll bed. We wouldn't do that. We would literally just put a base at the back or something, so we could put a bed on top, and then the stuff could go underneath, and we'd get a pop top put on that. And that's an option. Talking depends what it is. We found actually a Transporter. It's long wheelbase. It's a bit further away from where we are. 2007, but obviously you get a video tax. It's a shuttle. And I think it's currently on for just over 10 grand. It's got 88 k's, so the miles not too bad, but it is manual, and that's something I really want at the moment in terms of manual. I mean, car looks great. I actually love it. But the issue is the fact I'm not the biggest fan of manuals, because I drive to and from work, and a lot of that's, if it's half an hour drive, 15 minutes of that, a stop starts traffic in different places. So that's still a possibility that we're looking at. I mean, it might end up being about 18, 19 grand by the time we buy something and get a lot of it converted. We wouldn't put, like I said, a full-on camper van conversion there, or we don't really feel the need of that. I think they kind of mark on that saturated. So we just kind of make it a car plus, I suppose. And that would be good because, because it's not that big, getting lots of places, could park lots of places, very easy to get around with, pretty easy to live with. Parking might be a bit harder because it's quite long, but for a lot of things, it'll be fairly compatible with what we've got now. I mean, the Kia is not exactly short. So that's option number two. Option number three is that we buy a cheaper car, or a smaller daily runner, not like tiny, we can get a C1 or thing. Have to be big enough to fit the 3 girls in the back, but it wouldn't have to be as comfortable as the Kia is for long journeys. And then we buy a motorhome. But the problem is with motorhomes, well, a few things. One is the whole thing about it's 6 berth, but only has 4 seatbelts or 2 seatbelts. It's a bit annoying. And the other thing is that the things that we'd be able to afford, which is probably top end 17 grand maybe, so we'd have to go to big deck, because I don't like big decks, and just got rid of it. You're talking like 2003, 2004, and a lot of them, when you look at the MOT history, they've had loads of corrosion. That's what Fiats do at that point in time. Other Fords have loads of corrosion, but quite a bit of welding done. That's not something I really want to get into. So in order for us to get one that was probably a bit better in terms of that, it would be something like 2007, 2008, and 2007, 2008 are pretty much £30,000. So you go from 4 years difference, and it's like an extra 10 a bit grand, which is definitely something I'm not prepared to do, because we've still got the kind of thing that I think I told you before, that getting away at the weekend isn't impossible, it's just not easy. A couple of girls dance on the Friday night, and then the two of them dance on a Saturday as well, and that's until 2 o'clock. I mean, possibly if Martha moves to the other group, which we'd like her to. Dancy's just not that big a fan of that yet. Fair, I just think it's because she's not quite old enough. That would make things better if she was in the bigger group, because the little one would finish at 11:30. And this is the reason that we got the caravan. A lot of people are saying, just go and buy a caravan again. And it's like, well, it doesn't really fulfill the purpose it needs to. Yes, I love the caravan. That'd be gorgeous. But the problem is that, like I said, we'd leave on a Saturday, so we'd have to go and pick up the caravan for one night. We'd get the caravan, take it out to get it set up, hitch, blah, blah, blah. Go to the end, half an hour, get it set up. And then the next day, we'd have to leave at 11 o'clock. It's not something we don't want to do. If we're going to do that, even though it's only one night, we'd prefer to have 2 decent days. So you get a decent on the Saturday with a camper van and motorhome, and a decent on the Sunday. So that's where we're at. I do keep looking at camper vans, to be fair. But I appreciate their biggest issue is they're not very big, and that's kind of the point. But that, I don't know whether there were 5 of us in a camper van, whether we'd end up killing each other. I don't know. That's where we're at. So what do you think? Do you think we should just keep the car and just run it this year and see what happens when the market, I think, is starting to deviate a little bit for caravans? Not so sure about motorhomes or caravans. I think that's pretty stable. But I still think because of the recession that's definitely coming, you can see it in the markets, that's going to be a possibility. 2, we get a camper van, some sort, which would be like basically a big car. We partly convert it. That's option number 2. Or option number 3, we decide to ditch a lot and just go and buy a really expensive motorhome, which wouldn't be that expensive because I'm quite tight. But that's the option. So what do you think? Just giving you a little update. I know it's not probably in the world's best video, and that's absolutely fine. It is what it is. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.